How are you going?
Good, thanks.
Fantastic, lovely to hear. So, you've just released your song Blood, which features some pretty heavy themes in such a delicate and lovely way. Talk me through your songwriting process.
The songwriting process for us is kind of different each time, to be honest. Because there's two of us, it just depends who has come up with the initial idea. Sometimes it's Dylan, sometimes it's me. But yeah, a lot of the time, one of us comes up with this initial idea, and then we work on it together to get it to a place where we're happy with. And yeah.
Cool, I love that. Building on that, where does your inspiration come from? Do you draw a lot from lived experiences, or is it sort of a mix of things?
There's a bit of both. Like, I think you can't help but write about your own experiences. Like our last album was all about what we've been going through that year, which like we had a baby last year. So naturally all the songs were kind of about that and the change in perspective with something like that happening in your life. But with some of these new songs, it's like they've been inspired by things that happened to us, but then we often write the song more about like a specific character that's not exactly how it happened for us, but it was inspired by a feeling that we had initially.
I love that. That's so cool. You've described Blood as looking at family relationships from the perspective of new parents and the bonds that tie families together across generations. Have you noticed your creative process change as you've entered parenthood?
Um, yeah, I think we kind of have been looking inward a bit more. Like it just makes you think about things a lot more seriously. Like we've got this kid now who's, one and a bit, and he is just doing everything that we do and starting to say things that we say. And, you know, it's just so, you just realize like the weight of what you do and the way that it impacts your child. And yeah, we just couldn't help but think about the whole nature versus nurture thing and, how much of us is going to be showing through in our son, or is it the way that he grows up that will determine how he is? Yeah, it's just such a complicated theme to me, and it's so interesting.
Yeah, I can absolutely imagine. Um, when listening to your music, I can hear such an interesting mix of sort of like indie pop and rock. What kind of genres have you specifically been listening to lately? And does that influence your work at all?
It definitely influences a lot, I reckon. Like every song is a bit different depending on what we feel like the song needs. Like with Blood, it felt like a bit of a country song, so we kind of went with that, and it has a little bit of a country vibe in there. Um, yeah, we've been listening. We listen to all sorts of stuff, but usually it's just we really like good songs. So like sometimes we'll hear a song that isn't even really a genre that we would naturally listen to, um, but we can always appreciate that it's a good song, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get the same thing. Like I've been sort of expanding my music taste a little bit so far, and like the crazy things that I sort of come up with, and like you don't think that you'd love it, but then you listen to it and you're like, oh, how
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I think I used to be a bit more narrow-minded like that, and I used to like things that sounded pretty chill and smooth, and I didn't like anything too experimental. But Dylan has helped me kind of appreciate a song behind, like something that seemed a bit more rough and yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Cool. What's reception from listeners been like so far?
Yeah, so good with Blood. It's been really, really good feedback. It's quite a personal song, I suppose, although it's not directly about us, but it's inspired by things that happen to us. And I think everyone can relate to all that stuff. Everyone's got like issues with their family members, or everyone's got
Sure.
drama. So I think everyone can relate to it. And yeah.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much for your insight. Viewers at home, don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after the break to talk everything EPs and, of course, some hard hitting questions. Thank you. Welcome back to 1700. We are currently chatting with The Money War. Before the break, we were discussing your title track Blood for your upcoming EP, which is coming out on November 5th. What can listeners expect from this release?
From the EP, is that what
Yes.
you mean?
Yes.
So the EP has like, it's like pretty chill, I think. And then there's like one song that's just like a bit more of a subtle dance track almost. I
Oh,
don't know, like
vibes.
we don't make dance music. It's like it's probably not really dance music to anyone else but to us, because we make pretty chill music normally. It's kind of like, this could almost be a dance track. um, but it's all just very like, it's all just very observant. Like we've just been observing like different relationships, and the way that all this stuff has been happening with COVID in the last 2 years. Everyone's been like, so far apart and like missing people and having to learn to live away from each other, and also having to learn how to like keep relationships together in a different way, like over the internet, and like doing this kind of thing over Zoom.
Mm.
One of the songs is called Zoom, which is inspired by the fact that everything happened to be over Zoom in that time.
I love that. I'll be giving
Yeah,
that a listen.
it's definitely inspired by the changes in the world in the last 2 years and how that's impacted our relationships and the way that we communicate and stuff.
Incredible. Thank you. You also released a fantastic album last year titled Home, absolutely churning out projects. How do you balance a work-life balance as both music and real-life partners?
Yeah, there's a lot going on, that's for sure. It is definitely a balance. And I've got a day job on the side, and Dylan produces other bands and does a lot of co-writing and stuff. That's his main job now. So yeah, it's a balance. It's it's stressful at times, and being in a band with your partner is sometimes really hard, because it's just like 24/7 work, personal life. You're together all the time. But we somehow have made it work. Like I think we've really learnt to understand how each other works, and like we kind of know each other's strengths, and we know, okay, you take on that and I'll take on this, and then there won't be any like, I'm gonna have the last call on this and you're gonna have last call on that, and then there's no arguments. So I
Nice.
think we've learnt to work well together.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was describing your music to a friend as psychoanalyzing my every thought, but on like a warm summer's day. And I've also seen people online describe it as like a comforting doona that suddenly makes you feel a little sad, which leads me to ask, what's the strangest way people have described your music? And did you agree with it?
Oh, yeah. There's been some funny ones. Like usually it's the YouTube comments. I don't know what it is about. Like people who feel the need to comment on a YouTube channel, they're often like just seem really out there, and they comment some really strange stuff. Like I know we had something like, this is like an emo Mazzy Star, or like there's been a lot of Mazzy Star references, but turning it around a little bit, which is really funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's always on YouTube though.
I love that. I feel like YouTube absolutely brings about a certain type of person in the comments
Yeah.
section. I was reading an article where you talked about being a part of the Yummy's Hummus fan club, which I'm also a very proud and vocal member of. But I have to ask a very serious question, which we're all dying to know. What is your preferred cracker with said hummus?
My preferred cracker. I like the what's the brand? I like the seaweed ones,
Oh, yeah,
the round rice crackers with a little bit of seaweed on there.
absolutely. Yeah, I
Not
can
everyone's
support
into
that.
that, but it's also a little bit healthy. So, but Dylan likes Ryvitas. You know those ones? Like we're super seedy, super
Oh, yeah,
crunchy.
yeah.
You can probably break a tooth on that quite easily.
It's
But
a very strong choice, the
yeah,
Ryvita.
yeah, I know it's a strange one. Like they're not very flavoursome. It's kind of like birdseed, but he will eat a whole box of them in a few days with the hummus.
That's beautiful. I can absolutely relate to that. Maybe without the Ryvitas though. Perfect. So where can listeners find you guys on social media?
All the usual places: Facebook, Instagram. We have a Twitter account, but we don't really use it, so you won't see us posting on there very much. And we have a Bandcamp. and all of our music is available there. You can download it. You can own a copy of it for not very much. It's always nice when people go and buy stuff on there.
Incredible, amazing. So thank you so much for joining us on today's show. Be sure to check out the Money Wars' new EP Blood, coming out on the 5th of November on your preferred streaming platform, as well as the title track, which is out now. And make sure to catch them on November 20th in Perth at the Bird. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Amazing.